Hello, friends. So, today I wanted to talk to you about the best advice I ever got regarding my art career. And, when I was first starting to figure out exactly what I needed to do to get going, I did a lot of digging on YouTube. I watched a lot of other creators talk about their own experiences, knowing that my experience would be different, of course, but trying to fill in the gaps on my own inexperience with some of their experiences and kind of drawing my own conclusions and learning what I needed to do to really be successful in this industry. And one of the most important things that really resonated with me, and I can't even remember which creators said it, but I do remember that several of them mentioned it. The most important thing you can do for yourself and for your art is to finish your work. It's probably the hardest thing to do because I don't know about you, but as a creative, my brain is firing off on all rounds pretty much all the time. I'm never short on ideas. I'm short on enough time and lifespan to create everything that occurs to me. So sometimes when I was early on in my painting career, I would get overwhelmed thinking I needed to create an entire show's worth of paintings before I ever began sharing it. And what would happen is I would get as far as I could on any one painting, and then I'd leave it to dry, and then I would abandon it pretty much completely by a month later, jumping onto other projects or other paintings for that collection, but never really completing anything. So then I ended up with a pile of unfinished work and really nothing to show for all of the time I had already put in. So yeah, the importance of finishing your work is that you have something to show and to sell yourself with because it's completed. You can't sell half finished work. You can't go to a gallery and say, here are some sketches. I have some great visions of what my work will look like. They want to see the actual work itself. They want it ready to sell and package. And frankly, that's how you make money, is when you have stuff to sell, not ideas that can be put into action. Personally, I love commissions, but commissions require that you can finish on a deadline or at least complete a project within a certain parameter of time. And so you practice that leading up to taking commissions by finishing the work you started for yourself. And the cool part is when you are finishing your work, you are able to look at your entire body of work, your completed projects, and really isolate what your style is evolving into. You can kind of see it developing. It's starting to come to the front a little bit. The way that you do your details, the way your line work is, the way that you colorize things. All of that is much easier to tell when you have a body of work to look at. Again, if you're looking at 2 or 3 sketches and a painting from high school, and you don't really have anything new to show, then that's not great. Even if the half-finished projects are brilliant, they're not marketable. And they're not representative of your current stylings. And of course, here I'm talking about people who are well past high school, not someone who recently graduated. If it's been 10 years since high school and you've made nothing since high school art class, then it's time to reacquaint yourself with your art. So in order to even start marketing and selling, you need completed projects to sell. But more importantly than that, it's not just for the money. I really don't ever want anyone to think that art is solely about money. If it's your full-time job and you're spending as much time on it as I am, you should be making money at it, yes. But if you're doing it on the side, or you're doing it for your own passion project, or it's just a way you enhance and enrich your own life, that's totally fine. That's a great way to enjoy art. I think everyone should do art. Definitely, there's no reason to sell art if you don't need to make your money that way. So it's not just because you can make money when you have a lot of work. It is also that you are building your skills. Looking back at my portfolio before I became very focused on henna designs and henna inspiration, it's quite varied. I was a fashion design major, so I have a lot of fashion sketches and illustrations, and even some CAD and fabric design, other things like that. And then I had some watercolor and some charcoal and some very nice sketches of trees and still lifes, and then some portraits that I tried that were really terrible. And a few random assignments from school that were not cohesive or connected in any way to each other. So yeah, looking at my portfolio, there was no particular style. There was nothing to pinpoint as specifically mine, which is also fine. There are artists out there who define themselves by always being unique in every piece. But I will say that in my own experience, it's much easier to sell when you have a lot of something that people like. When you are completing your projects, you are able to look at your body of work and decide what you're selling. For me, it's mandalas. That's a running theme. That's very clearly a thing that I like to do. How I distinguish myself from other mandala artists is that I am very Western style leaning. I lean into that because I'm not trying to take up traditional mandala spaces. That's not what my art is. And I do a lot of illustrations with bugs and characters and fandoms as well, because those are things that I enjoy. Those are audiences that I connect with. I don't pitch those to all places where I'm trying to sell my art. If I'm going to a gallery, I'm probably going to go with a safer collection, but it would still be mandalas. There would be no mistaking my style. If I had 3 different galleries with 3 different themes, my stylings would be similar across the board, so people would recognize and go, oh, that's hers. I recognize that. And people do. So having a consistent sort of theme to your work or a consistent aesthetic can be really important, just in the basis of people identifying and becoming familiar and seeing you over and over and over and connecting that to your success. You can't do any of that. You can't pitch a show, you can't land a show. Even an art exhibit is going to want to see some of your work. And again, you just don't want to go approach a professional gallery with a half-finished sketchbook. The best part to me is not that you have stuff to sell, it's that you're getting good at what you've been practicing, because you're practicing it. You're practicing and following through. You're completing a piece and giving a whole vision to that piece. You're not kind of leaving it as a bunch of maybe this, maybe that. It's completed. It's concrete. You made decisions. That's the outline I went with. Those are the borders. That's the color scheme. And people will connect with it or they won't, but they know where to put you. If you have just sketches, people can't quite see the vision that you hold in your head, and that's going to be a tough sell if you're not just absolutely incredible as an artist in your sketches. I'm not sure anybody would get a job that way, but I could be wrong about that. Let me know. So yeah, that's the best advice I ever received. And I decided to actually create a reminder in my studio because it was such an important concept to me. The quote from Miyazaki films, Spirited Away, it says, "Finish what you started, human," and has a bunch of soot sprites on it. So it reminds me every day to finish your work. Don't just start something, complete it so that it can be collected and curated and sold eventually. Yeah. So let me know what you think. I know that this is really hard to finish work because we get stunted with a lot of questions and questioning ourselves, and maybe we're just not sure which idea to pick. For that, I would make a recommendation of a very good book that I read a few years ago. Changed my life, or really set me on my journey for self-employment with a fiery passion, because it helped me to eliminate one of the biggest obstacles, and that is fear. And the book is called Art and Fear. It is by, I'll look that name up for you, and I'll put a link in the description below, because I think everyone should read that book. It's like $10 and you can read it in a day. And it talks about all those hangups we have and why we don't finish our art and why we don't sell ourselves out there and why we don't price ourselves for our worth and other assorted things. Honestly, it helped me connect my fears to a lot of hesitation across the board in my life. Being able to see that and identify it and isolate it, I was able to combat it by not being stunted by my fear and not be kept at bay or, kept from my potential because of fear. So yeah, if you are struggling with it, with finishing your work or with putting yourself out there or with just picking a direction and committing to it, I highly suggest the book Art and Fear. It is fantastic. And that was at the recommendation of several other artists as well. That was a recurring theme that came from very successful artists that I followed. So I thought, hey, $10, I can check that out. I'm so glad I did. I have bought several copies and given them to several other people because I just think everyone should read it. So, anyway, let me know. Do you guys have any book recommendations that have helped you overcome art obstacles or career obstacles or just general life obstacles? I'm always down for a good book. And let me know what you think about finishing your work and how you struggle with that or how you've overcome it. We'd love to hear about that. I think that could help someone who's reading it. Thanks so much, you guys. Have a good one. Stay safe out there.